Alright, so another question. This question's a bit sort of in depth. Like, I got a question here from TrickiiT. Can you do a tutorial on how to sculpt detailed muscles? Okay, the thing about muscles is that there are all different types of muscles, and you have quite the awkward task of looking at dudes with big muscles. You know, not very good when your dad walks into your bedroom and there's a big, massive arrangement of muscular guys. So the thing about muscles is that some muscles look totally different depending on the level of vascularity. And vascularity means that the lower sort of percentage body fat they have. So like you can see the striations in the way the muscles are sort of connecting to all the sort of ligaments and joints and stuff. You know, it just depends on what sort of look you want to go for. You know, if you want a typical sort of comic book hero type look, then you really need to focus on sculpting the more of the shape of the muscle. But if you're trying to go for like a real sort of realistic, I don't know, like photorealistic thing, you have to figure out how vascular this guy is. You know how. Let's just type in vascularity to so I can show you. I can spell it right. Let's see, vascularity. Now this is a pretty crazy. This is vascular. This is pretty much as vascular as you'll get. You know, it's just really sort of the veins popping out because there's completely no body fat there. It's just the pure outline of the muscle. So it really does depend on what sort of muscles you're sort of going for. You know, like he's pretty vascular, but that is pretty ridiculous, really. This guy looks like a mutant, to be honest. I mean, you don't really see most models like this unless you're trying to go for like some really like crazy looking creature. Then vascularity could be something you might want to sort of study. You know, pretty helpful if you're making something look totally inhuman, even though it is it is human. You know, these guys are human, so I know it just looks weird, and you don't often see it in real life. It's pretty hard to achieve that level of vascularity. It's pretty crazy. So if you just type in something like I don't know, like Superman. You know, just Superman has the sort of typical comic book sort of anatomy. You know, he has the you know, like all these sort of scientific anatomy studies where the muscles sort of connect and join. It's that specific look that they're going for. So it really depends on what look you want. But the most key thing is reference. If I'm using if I'm going for like a huge bodybuilder look, I'll probably use something like Ronnie Coleman as reference, just because there's so many pictures of the guy, and he's fucking huge. You know, he's pretty much like just the best reference if you try and make like some like really Hulk-like character. Even the Hulk, I use the Hulk for reference as well. Shit, awesome. Hulk. If you type in Hulk anatomy, let's see what comes up. Not so great. I find as well that if you type in, like, if you want to search for something like, it's add ZBrush on the end, like Hulk ZBrush, there's usually some of the great artists who have studied these things. Just great reference, really great reference. But yeah, let's just jump into ZBrush now. I'm just gonna actually get a bit of reference going on here. I'll use Ronnie Coleman. We'll try and make like I don't know, some really crazy looking muscular guy. This picture looks good. Just open Photoshop for a sec, and we'll make a reference sheet. If you want to sculpt really sort of good muscles, you want to kind of, it's going to take time. You'll make some really sort of goofy looking stuff to begin with, just because it is all about how many times you've done it. You know. I'm just trying to see what else I can get as good reference. Good reference is really real hard to find when you're looking for muscle stuff, because you know people don't take pictures of themselves, so artists can replicate it. They take it because you know to make them look as good as possible. So it's pretty hard to find good solid reference that you can use because they're always flexing as well, and when you flex your muscle, it looks totally different. You know, and a character wouldn't be constantly flexing his muscles. There are so many different things you've got to think about when you're making muscles. I'll get this back pose here. I'm not going to do a full character because that would take hours. Something quick and dirty as well. I myself am not that great at anatomy. I need to practice. It's one of the areas I'm lacking in. So my sculpt won't be that good. And I'm lagging. Don't lag on me. Sorry about this. Won't be a sec. Maybe I can switch to Photoshop. No. I should have closed down ZBrush. Oh, actually, I can get rid of that video. It's probably going to be laggy with that in there. I've literally just recorded that second this question I answered, and I saw this one. Alright, cool. Right, back on. Let's go. Alright, reference sheets. You want to make them the same size as your document. So just click on the document here, and I want it to be 1542 by 950. And 5. Turn on my numbers lock. And was it 952? No, is it 950? 950. Okay, just so it doesn't like distort the images, Put your reference in here, and it's not letting me drag them in. That's a shame. Okay, doesn't have to be neat or anything, you just literally, it's just something to look at, something to keep you sort of in focus of what you're trying to get. Just blur them out a little bit so it's not too distracting, but you want to be able to see the detail a little bit. Yeah, save that out as a JPEG, something like that. I'm just going to leave it on desktop for now, delete it later. Muscle stuff. And that's pretty much all you need. Let's get rid of that. In ZBrush, I'm going to go to Document, Import, and just navigate to your reference. Always use reference, never sculpt for mind. Oh shit. The thing about importing images is that it takes on the color information from the material, so just switch to something quite neutral. Matte Cat Grey is okay. Let's re-import that. That's better. Okay, so this sculpt. How are we going to start this thing? Right, there's numerous different ways we can start this model, but I think what I'm going to use is this new method that I've discovered. I'm just going to draw out any primitive shape. Doesn't matter. The shape will be deleted. Let's make sure we can see this floor. That'll do. I'm just going to go to my brush menu by pressing B, and I'm going to navigate to this IMB parts, insert multi-mesh body parts, and when I've got that brush selected, press M, select this torso, and I'm just going to literally need to make the polymesh 3D first. And I'm just going to pull out this mesh like so, and then I'm going to hit the R key so I can navigate to my transpose tool. I'm just going to make sure that this is the right way up. This is a floor, so I want to make sure it's a vertical, towards the floor. So that looks good. And I also need to make sure that the symmetry is lined up. It's a little bit off. I'm just going to pull my floor back on. You can see that very faint blue line here is the actual center point. So I'm just going to sort of roughly line it up like so, and then we are going to go turn the floor off first. And I'm also going to unmask this subtool, because when you draw out using multi-mesh, it does it on the same active subtool. So we can just use our brush here. If you press Ctrl Shift, you're going to get this these selection brushes, and what we can do with selection brush is Ctrl Shift drag and press Alt, so we can now sort of get rid of this circle that we don't want, or this cylinder. It's going to do like so, but that cylinder is it's still there. If I press Ctrl Shift and click, you're going to notice now that it's going to bring that cylinder back. So we need to get rid of it permanently. So I'm going to hide it again, Ctrl Shift, press Alt to make it go red, let go, and And we come down here to our geometry tab, and it's under modify topology, delete hidden mesh. So now that cylinder is permanently gone, we can click and nothing will be brought into play. Okay, so now if we press M again to select our tools, then this multi-mesh, we're just going to draw out some male arms, like so. Oh shit, forgot to turn on symmetry. Just press X on symmetry, or in the transform tab up here, activate symmetry, and just draw these arms out. And then we can use the transpose tool to rotate this round by pressing R. Just switching between move and rotate at this point. We need to think carefully about the position of this arm. I always think in the sort of mindset that I'm making a game model, so we don't want the arms to be too close to the body, otherwise we won't be able to animate them. So I usually find a 45 to sort of 60 degree angle. It's pretty nice. So you know, I mean, now we need to figure out the length of the arm. If we look at our reference here, Mr. Coleman, you can see that the shoulder here, the elbow is just sort of actually, if we rotate this back into that position that he has right now, we can use that as a really solid piece of reference. Like this is what it's all about, you know. You just got to figure stuff out from what you're using, you know. That elbow is about halfway down his back. You can see the back muscles and the sort of indentation here. So if we sort of scale this out a little bit, let me just pull this down again. It was on the wrong side. If we use the move tool to sort of pull it down, we can sort of just stretch these arms a little bit more, and you can see that his hand just comes just underneath his arse. His wrist is like just under the center, so I'd say that is about right for this size torso. And now we can sort of just rotate these back out, so we have a game sort of res. You know, we're thinking about the position of this in terms to help us, and that looks pretty good. Yeah. So now, once we're happy with the placement of these meshes, I can press Control to access the masking brush and just drag to get rid of that selection. Now we're left with something that is ultimately unusable. It's not connected. It's a bit, you know, you can't sculpt on this, right? But before I do something, I just want to pull out a neck. So I'm going to Control. I'm going to highlight this here. Well, mask out this area. And I'm going to Control click to invert the mask, and I'm going to turn off symmetry for this. And what I'm going to do, go to a side view. Whilst I'm dragging this out, hold Shift, and that doesn't really do nothing. Let me just get back to that. Okay, I'm just going to, whilst I'm in move mode, just drag up like this. Okay, once I have this line, I'm going to position it to the base of the neck, and then I'm just going to sort of imagine where his neck would be pointing, like so. And then what I'm going to do is press Control and Shift and drag by the middle. Drag by the middle button, so it's basically what it's going to do is it's going to constrain to the way this thing is pointing. So just going to pull up a neck like so, very roughly, just so I have some, you know, stuff to work with here. I'm just going to hit the symmetry. I'm just going to smooth this out a little bit. And then what we can do now is that now we've got like this base mesh. I'm only going to do sort of like around the shoulders and stuff. It's going to be really time consuming. Right. What we're going to do now is Dynamesh this thing. So we need to go to Dynamesh and just work out what res we need. We want to think about keeping the fingers and stuff. Just hit Dynamesh now. And that's pretty high res. If we can get a bit lower, that would be nice. That seems to be, there's a bit of warping in the fingers there. Maybe sort of 168. Yeah, that's pretty decent. We have a few issues on the shoulders here from the Dynamesh, but you know, it's quite easily just smooth this out like so. Let's get a bit of a more smooth result like so. I'm just going to re-Dynamesh. To update Dynamesh, just press mask key, which is Control, and just swipe, and it's going to update the Dynamesh. Pretty weird to get used to, but it does work and it's pretty intuitive. So now we're left with a really nice base mesh to sculpt our crazily muscular guy. A brush I recommend for this is clay buildup. I always mention this brush, and it's just so nice just for blocking it in, and that's really what you want to be doing to begin with. So yeah, we're just going to block in his pecs. Just literally, you know, brush in these pecs. I'm looking at this picture here, and I like using clay buildup with these square alpha just because you can get the muscle definition really easily to begin with. Just because the way that the square brush works is really nice. So you know, we can just go through here, and now we're looking at the back of him. You know, just putting in these shoulder deltoids. And then he has like a bump here where this sort of trap comes down, and this is pretty much what anatomy is. You know, you're just looking at reference images, and you know, you've just really got to discipline yourself to figuring stuff out, you know. But this is a pretty sort of extreme reference. You know, these guys, Ronnie Coleman, if you didn't know who this guy is, I think he's won Mr. Olympia 8 times. You know, he's pretty much the greatest bodybuilder who's ever lived. So you know, in terms of muscle definition, he's pretty much the best human being ever to use as reference. So you know, it's just a good guy to use if you want to get the most muscular looking dude ever. But you know, it is pretty laborious, really. It's one of the reasons why I haven't really sort of. It really does take a certain amount of discipline in order to sculpt really good muscles. It's not easy. It looks easy because so many people do it, but you know, it is really difficult to learn. It just takes a long time for you to make something that looks good. So this is pretty much the only way to do it. You know, it's just repetition and you know, just literally just spending the time to learn what it is you're doing, you know. Okay, moving around, let's get these triceps going. Now they seem to really bulge out of this sort of corner area here and come down into this lot of lower arm here, like so. The thing about sculpting muscles though is that you see muscles like every day, so your brain sort of unconsciously knows what a muscle is and what it looks like and what it's, you know, what it's supposed to be. So the slightest error in your sculpt, your brain is going to pick up on that so fast. You know, it's so automatically. It's just really difficult to make something look convincing. Something that you see so many times every day. That's why faces are so hard to sculpt, right? Just because your mind knows like what it is a face looks like automatically. So yeah, let's get in his bicep now. One thing that's helped me with my anatomy knowledge is that I sort of work out quite a bit now, and I've sort of, you know, I've seen the changes on my own body. You know, when you look in the mirror and whatnot, and you can just sort of see the muscle sort of definition, and it's just, I don't know, it's just really helped me understand certain areas. You know, the best reference you'll ever find in terms of a human anatomy is your own, you know. So often look at yourself for anatomy reference, you know. It's helpful for stuff like hands, that's for sure. But you often find, you know, be the case. But I'm not really going to spend too much time refining because, you know, it takes ages. You know, I'm just going to try to do like a rough sort of guesstimation of this. I want to try and sort of, you know, get to the point where I can, you know, sculpt in a bit of a higher fidelity. Talk about, you know, trying to get some detail in here. But this is pretty much the only way to learn how to do muscle sculpts. It's really going to be a test of your sort of artistic discipline, you know. So it does get boring, and I'm trying to get to the point where I can do more of these like studies and stuff. You know, really get my head down and learn about these muscles a bit better than I already know. I haven't really I've only done a few anatomy sort of studies. You know, I haven't really opened the floodgates to this stuff. And I should be really, as a character artist, I really should be knuckling down on this stuff. It's pretty much the fundamental basis of all characters is, you know, the knowledge of the human body. Yeah, I'll probably do a lot more of these. Let's just do a bit of ab work, and then I'm just going to subdivide, and we'll talk about how you can sort of refine these muscle groups a little better. The thing is, though, doesn't really show on these guys, but most sort of anatomy sculpts, you'll see the top of the rib cage, sort of like the top of the rib cage will sort of come down like so, and then you'll have, you know, these little muscles. I don't know what they're called under the chest here. They sort of look like little lines, but the top of the rib cage will come down, and then you'll see the highest ab. And there'll be an ab there, and then you'll have that connection, that sort of triangle area coming round here, like so. That's pretty much comic book sort of anatomy knowledge. It's a bit rough, you know, it takes some refining, but I really can't be bothered to do it. It just takes so long to do, you know, just to sort of trying to make everything look what it should be like. It just takes a really long time, hours. But you know, that is usually how most comic book characters have. You know, they have that top of the ribcage bit there, or bottom of the ribcage. Sorry, the top of yeah, the bottom of the ribcage, and the abs would be sort of showing underneath like so, and then yeah, so his neck's looking a bit funky. Alright, so that's a pretty rough sort of top torso. Now, what we'd have to do at this point is we'd subdivide, Control D, smooths it out a little bit. And then what I would use is probably Alpha 6 or Alpha 12. We'll try Alpha 6. And all you try to do is, with Alpha 6, which is a nice smooth brush, is you just try and make these muscles, you know, look like muscles. There is no other way I can explain it to you, you know. It really is sort of, you know, it's just up to you as a sculptor to identify with what looks right and what doesn't look right, and you really can't teach that. It's all down to your discipliner and just how much you practice, how much you study muscles, how much you sculpt muscles. There is no other way of learning how to sculpt muscular people without doing hours and hours of studies. You know, that is just the reality of what it means to be a character artist, I guess. But this brush is a nice brush for, you know, really sort of giving it that sort of massy feel. You know, when you look at muscles and they look like they're bursting out of the flesh, this brush is real nice for sort of giving that sort of feel. You know, just giving it light brushes everywhere. This must be something to do with the fall off of this brush. It just works well. Yeah, I really did like this brush when I first discovered it for doing organic stuff. You can sort of, you know, it's starting to take a little bit more of a human-like texture now. You know, use smooth every now and again to sort of, you know, smooth out areas a little bit. But it really just depends on what reference you're using too. You know, all people's bodies are different. You know, so it's probably one of the biggest things about doing anatomy. You know, it's all subjective to like what your reference is. In this case, we are doing the most notorious bodybuilder in human history. But you know, it's really uberly rough is my sculpt. You know, You know, you just have to go through the notion of upping the subdivisional level, but I think this level that we're at now is a really important level. It's that level of it's you're putting in really sort of high landmarks. You know, you're doing the most important part of the model. The fidelity later on, when you sort of go up to the really high subdivisional levels, is going to help make it look more real. But you need to get the big landmarks down first before you can do that. And this is what this stage that we're at now is. What that's all about. It's the big bulges, you know, the big muscles that you can start, you know, that really hit the light. You know, the light hits. That really casts a lot of sort of powerful shadows and stuff like that. That is the most important part of sculpting people, you know, getting those landmarks right. And it's all about practice, you know. I mean, I'm probably making tons and tons of mistakes. If there's somebody watching here, you know, who's studied anatomy and stuff, you know, it's, I really do need to do this a bit more. But you know, it doesn't look too bad. You know, I'm not an expert on anatomy, but it is recognizable as a human being, I guess. Yeah. But it's just something you can't teach. I cannot teach you how to sculpt realistic muscles. You know, it's just something you have to figure out. You have to feel out. You know, you have to feel in the brushes. You know, I can tell you what I use. You know, to do certain things, but it really does depend on how much you practice this stuff. That's just a simple truth. But you know, there's so many different things you can do to make it look like, you know, more muscular and whatnot. Like I mentioned at the start of the video, you know, vascularity. But I mean, it's easy to do vascularity. I mean, the thing about vascularity is it's a lot to do with veins and stuff. I'll teach you a good. I think I explained this in the brushes video. If you use standard brush, but if you've got a stroke, lazy mouse, bring up this lazy radius to about 30. Lazy smooth, bring this down. The lazy step, so you use the alpha a bit more. And you know, just bring this up, bring your focal shift down. And you know, in terms of doing like big veins and stuff, this is an excellent brush. You know, you can get these big popping veins going around his body and stuff, and you know, just look at these, what you've got on your reference. Really, you know, veins act, you know, pretty strangely. You know, when you see like pictures, it is totally different to what I thought in my head a vein looked like on muscular guys. Yeah, you know, there's so many different ways you can make a guy look more muscular. And eccentric veins, you know, works. You know, it's one of those things that people understand. You know, oh, he's muscular, man, he's got big veins. You know, it's just something that people can recognize. But you know, the more and more time you spend on a sculpt like this, the better it will look. But the main thing you want to do, if you've never sculpted anatomy before, is get some reference. Have a look, Google anatomy, Google muscle anatomy, you know, so you can see just exactly how the muscles work. You know, you need to know these things in order to make it look good. But yeah, it's just a quick dirty tutorial on how to sculpt muscles. Really, the veins are a bit overkill looking at this distance, but you know, yeah, that's just something you'd have to sort of, you know, really go at, you know, when you're figuring stuff out. But I hope this is helpful. Use clay buildup. Clay buildup with a soft alpha is real nice for doing muscles. But just study, get some pictures out of this. I know it's pretty weird, pretty weird thing to be looking at, but you know, it's just the only way you improve yourself. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Quick dirty tutorial on sculpting muscles. I hope this has been helpful.